While RFK Jr. is being stupid and blaming Tylenol of all things, real scientific researchers are unlocking more of the mysteries of why autism exists. Yes, autism is nothing new and has been around ever since humans have been intelligent. And that's the point, according to a new study published in Molecular Biology and Evolution. The authors looked at what are called layer 2/3 intratelencephalic neurons, which are the most common type of neuron in the human neocortex, and compared it to our nearest relatives. It's always been an open question just how we got this runaway intelligence, much more than can be explained simply by outcompeting other species. The authors found that these neurons evolved exceptionally quickly in our lineage compared to other apes. It's based on the idea that certain things in biology tend to be more protected by evolution because mistakes in those things end up being more harmful and therefore quickly selected out. The authors wondered if this same rule applies to neurons. Do the most common neuron types evolve more slowly? So they looked at giant databases of single-cell RNA sequencing, which shows you which genes are turned on in different types of neurons. And they found that, yes, rare neurons evolve faster, common neurons are more stable. But these L23IT neurons don't follow this pattern. They changed way faster than expected in humans, which is weird. What they found is that in humans, the variations of these genes that are linked to autism are expressed more in apes than in humans. In humans, these genes are downregulated. The study found, quote, surprisingly, this accelerated evolution was accompanied by the dramatic downregulation of autism-associated genes, which was likely driven by polygenic positive selection specific to the human lineage. In particular, 233 genes strongly linked to autism show reduced activity in humans compared to chimpanzees. Why would that matter? Take, for example, the SHANK3 gene. It's one of the genes that helps neurons build strong, stable synapses. If your SHANK3 genes are highly expressed, you make robust, stable, and precise synapses. But in humans, SHANK3 is expressed at a lower level. That means that synapses can be more dynamic, meaning they're easier to form, mold, prune, and remodel, vastly increasing our intelligence by allowing us to adapt faster and learn more complex tasks such as language. But with that increased dynamism comes fragility. Just as those synapses are easier to change, they become easier to break as well. In that case, instead of being flexible but functional, it becomes unstable. In chimpanzees, that risk is low because their higher baseline expression means they're not going to notice much of a difference. But in humans, that same increased flexibility that leads to our higher intelligence means we're closer to the precipice, and so we're more vulnerable when those genes get changed. We're at risk of the expression going too low, disrupting the communication between neurons and leading to autistic traits. The pattern in these changes in genes is exactly what you'd expect from natural selection and not at all what you'd expect from random chance. Add to that the fact that autism-linked genes show no increase in harmful mutations compared to chimpanzees, and the fact that the activity of these genes is less variable in humans, and that indicates a strong evolutionary pressure to select for these genes. The pattern holds across humans, chimpanzees, gorillas, macaques, marmosets, and mice across tens of millions of years of evolutionary divergence. We have prices to pay for our intelligence. Our brains are only marginally bigger than other apes when you consider how insanely more intelligent we are. The advantages have to do with brain structures and neuroplasticity. Disadvantages include things like a slower brain development after birth. And it looks like autism is another price we have to pay. Autism isn't a single disorder due to a single catastrophic mutation or bad gene, but a spectrum that results from all sorts of genetic factors that span the entire mammalian brain. It's interesting to compare this to the idea that a certain number of autistic people in a population can add to its survivability. Autistic people are hyper-focused with immense attention to detail, novel problem-solving abilities, and skill diversity. They also have a high pain threshold and are less risk-averse, and to a Paleolithic society, that makes them pretty badass. It may be that having 1 to 2% of your population on the spectrum gives you advantages that outweigh the costs of everyone else having to compensate for their disability. So autism wasn't just genetic drift or a neural mishap in humans. It was the result of positive selection, deliberately turning down the expression of these genes to make our brain wiring more flexible and powerful, which massively boosted our intelligence, learning, and cognition. But that also made us closer to a tipping point, where additional genetic hits can push our system too far and into the autism spectrum. The very things that made us smarter are what made autism more prevalent. Not vaccines or Tylenol or whatever. It's not a glitch. It's fundamental to who we are as a species.